Hey everyone, I'm the Atom Particle, and today we'll be reviewing Fires of Vengeance, the second book in the Burning trilogy written by Evan Winters. If the first book in the series was the F around phase, this would definitely be the find out part. Just like my other reviews, this will be completely spoiler free, but I will be talking about the first book in very broad strokes. This is just in case people want to get a general idea of the series before they invest their time and money into getting into it. This book picks up immediately after the events of the first one. We get to see a lot of the fallout and aftermath of the first book. We also get to see how uh, people are reacting to it and just kind of the consequences of what went down before. This creates the initial conflict that we will follow in this book. It is still a sequel and the middle part of the trilogy, but it is largely self contained and has its own narrative that wraps up at the end. We still continue to follow Tao after his training arc, and he has just become an absolute beast. He is an absolute unit. This time around, his anger is still very present and all consuming, but we see him kind of direct his efforts towards something bigger than himself. We also see the consequences of his actions become more apparent in this book. His quest for revenge is very selfish, and he often puts his own ambitions and desires above the people around him. This causes a lot of people to get hurt, and they kind of start to resent him for it. This plays an interesting role in the novel, as this time around he is part of a larger team. But because of his actions, uh, and the decisions he's made, there's a bit of tension within the group. This creates some interesting dynamics and a lot of it goes to serve a lot of character development with the side characters. Because of his efforts in the first book, he is just an incredible fighter, and for the most part, we just kind of watch him tear through enemies. This feels very earned in this book just because we've seen what he's had to go through and kind of the odds that are stacked up against him. Well, he is still just unstoppable. Winters takes this concept and twists it and creates situations that still challenge Tal in unique and interesting ways. This book has a similar breakneck pace as it does in the first book, but this time around we don't see as big of a change in Tao, and I don't feel like we see as development as we did in the first book. I think in a way this kind of limits the story being told, but this book still has its share of really intense and dramatic moments. Also, there's some decisions made in this book that don't make too much sense or feel a little forced. Then there's also reveals later on in the book that don't feel like there was enough build up to it, and it just doesn't feel earned, so there's not a satisfying delivery to it. But if you enjoyed the first book, chances are you're really going to enjoy this book still. I think I enjoyed Rage of Dragons a little bit more, but I still really enjoyed this book. It has a lot of very interesting plot points, and then it also sets up a lot for the sequel, which I am very much looking forward to now. So I would give this book a B. Yeah, yeah, B. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as, like I said, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first book, but this is still a solid follow up, and you will enjoy this if you like the first book. I think my score could change on this book, and it could move up to that A tier, depending on the sequel, just because this does do a lot of the heavy work. So this builds a foundation. This builds the foundation for a really strong conclusion to this trilogy, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. So my ratings could change based on what comes next. So yeah, that's my review of Fires of Vengeance. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and please consider. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing and leaving a like. It would help me out, and I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.